Hey guys, this is Chris Broussard back with In the Zone, and boy, do we have a great interview for you today. 18-year veteran Jamal Crawford is on the phone with us. He has some amazing stories about Michael Jordan, LeBron James. You won't believe his Meta World Peace story. Lonzo Ball, Paul Pierce. This dude has played with just about everybody, been coached by just about everybody, so he has some incredible tales about these guys as teammates, opponents, so on and so forth. But first, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, check us out on SoundCloud, even leave us a comment and 5 stars. So with all that said, let's get to Jamal. Yo, what's happening, man?
You got it. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for doing this.
Of course, man. You about to start an uproar with your handles list, man. People tweeting everywhere.
I know you probably getting a lot of tweets. People like, yo, man, where you at on the list?
Yeah, they be tagging me. I don't even reply to it.
Nah, it was you. As you can imagine, it was a tough list. I'm gonna ask you about yours once we get this. Once we get this this thing taping.
Going, yeah, and I thought about it. The more there were so many people I forgot. I can't make one, man. I'll be doing somebody a service. There's so many people.
Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough. So did y'all have practice today?
No, he gave us a day off.
Oh, y'all had a day off? Okay, cool. Y'all play, y'all at home tomorrow? Yeah, you must be.
Yeah, we at home for one game and we leave again.
Okay, cool. Well, we ready to get rolling, man. So you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. Well, look, I just did for my podcast my top 5 dunkers, game dunkers of all time. Ooh. So we're going to get to that later. I'm going to ask you about your list later. But as you saw last week, I did my top 5 ball handlers in NBA history. And that was Pistol Pete Maravich at number 5, Isaiah Thomas, the legend, the original from Detroit at number 4, Steph Curry at number 3, Jason Williams, White Chocolate at number 2, and Kyrie Irving at number 1. You were one that I hated to leave off. A lot of people hit me about you and Allen Iverson and a couple other guys. What'd you think of my list?
I honestly didn't have a problem with it. I really honestly didn't. When you think about it, there's been so many great ball handlers, so many people that you could make a case for, that somebody's going to be left off at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, you got guys like Baron Davis, Steve Francis, Kenny Anderson. You know what I mean? There's so many great ball handlers at the end of the day who aren't going to make the list because you're only doing 5. You know, and I know that's kind of the popular number for everything, you know. Top 5 rappers, you know what I mean? So 5 is kind of the magic number. But with that, I just think somebody's going to be left off. And I remember telling you, I thought I had my 5, but now going back and seeing, all the names and all the people and just, it's impossible. It really is impossible to do just 5 people.
So you don't have a top 5?
I don't. I thought I had a few that would be in there regardless.
Yeah.
But then once you start thinking about it more, you start going back watching film on people and watching different people, it's impossible. It really, really is impossible to do it. You can make an argument for any of these guys.
Yeah. Is there a guy that you would say had the most influence on you in terms of your handle?
I would say mine was Isaiah Thomas and Allen Iverson more than anybody else.
Okay.
Because, Isaiah, he was the one I seen, first going behind his back, dribbling the ball. You know what I mean? Almost like he was sitting down in a chair being able to do a behind-the-back move. Most people were doing, the round behind the back where they're kind of running at you and go behind your back. Isaiah was the first I saw, sitting down in the chair. And obviously I saw Kenny Anderson do it in college when he did it a couple times and did the move on Bobby Hurley. You know what I mean? There's just so many people that put those two more than anybody else. And then you got guys like Baron Davis who had a mean handle and moves, and Tim Hardaway and Steve Francis. So there's a lot of dudes who could really handle that rock.
When you came into the league in 2000, that was right kind of at the And One mixtape craze. And did that a lot of people probably look at your handle and think you got a lot from them. Did you take a lot from those tapes, or were you kind of doing a lot of that stuff before those even became popular?
it's somewhere in the middle, because I was doing a lot of that stuff anyway, but then to see it, like, people actually recognizing what they were doing. Like, I remember watching the first and one tape, and it's mostly about Skip and seeing the stuff he was doing at the Rucker. And I'm like, oh, that was nasty. That was cold. You know what I mean? So they kind of went in sync with each other. And then, you know, to see guys like Jason Williams doing the NBA, who had one of the meanest handles ever, you know, in white chocolate. And then see guys like, who's somebody who had a crazy handle you wouldn't even think of. Like, to me, Mahmoud, like, he didn't show it all the time, but to be able to get his shot the way he did, he could handle the ball. You wasn't going to take it from him. You know what I mean? Like, he could make you look silly. So it was just so many different guys who had some type of influence on me handling the ball, but Iverson was just mesmerizing. You know what I mean? The way he did it, and he put almost like the street behind it. You know what I mean? He put that extra to it, and that's why I was like, oh, this is crazy. Yeah.
You mentioned Mahmoud, Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, and Phil Jackson once said that Steph Curry reminded him of Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, and he got a lot of flack over it. But let me ask you this. If Mahmoud was in the league today with the emphasis on the three-point shot, what do you think he'd be?
He would destroy this league. He was so unorthodox with how he scored. He's actually one of my favorite players ever. Like, I have a top 10 list, and he's right, like, on my bonus players. Like, he's unbelievable. Like, he could get his shot off at any time. He was so herky-jerky. He had the quick twitch. He could shoot off, you know, without being square, without having his feet facing the basket. It was automatic. And he did it with, like, no emotion. He didn't get too excited when he did it. So players like that, they're tougher to read. You know what I mean? Because they're not like, oh, yeah, you know, they did it and they're excited. And, you know, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Like, you never know when he's going to attack. And I think he's one of your favorite players' favorite player. You know what I mean? Like, he has everybody's respect. That's who he is.
Do you think he'd be like Steph today?
Well, Steph, I think he took more mid-range. You know, at that era, like, I remember when I came in the NBA and I was a point guard, it was get the ball to the big, get the ball to your wing, isolation, score, and that was it. If I told you I was going to take 10 threes in a game, I don't care. The coach would probably say, I don't care how good of a shooter, you ain't taking 10 threes in no game. You know what I mean? So it's just different. It's so different. But so to me, I can see the similarity just from the scoring standpoint. Like, they're unorthodox. They're fun to watch. They can get going. They can go on rolls. You know, and from that aspect, I don't think their games are nearly identical, so to speak. But I think they're, you know, I could see, okay, I see what he saw when he said that.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned you got a top 10. Can you share that with us? Top 10 favorite. It's your top 10 favorite players, or you think who you think are the best?
No, these are just my favorites.
Okay.
And one guy in here we're gonna mention who got a crazy handle too. But my top 10 favorite players is Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, original Isaiah Thomas, and then I got Kobe, Iverson, GP, and then T-Mac, Grant Hill, Penny. That's 9. Then I got Garnett. That's 10. He's my only big on my list.
Wow.
And then my bonus guys is like Baron Davis, Mahmoud, Nick Van Exel.
Okay.
So those are like my favorites at different points in my life. And Nick Van Exel was the other one I was going to say, who had a nasty handle as well.
What would you say kind of makes you like a player, you know, that's going to put a player on your list?
Yeah, I think the flavor they play with, the swagger, you know, how they make people better, how some of them do things you can't teach, how the game is easy, you know, for some of them. With Jordan, it was obviously like these guys are winners, you know, and however you cut it, more than anything, they're winners. They're competitive. Like, they're all winners, you know, at just different points in my life. Those are my favorite players. I mean, and obviously, like a Dr. J, he's on that list too. You know, it's one of the, like 10's even almost impossible because I love so many players. I love just the history of basketball. And if you notice, every player I say on the list is older than me. So these are all guys I grew up watching. You know what I mean? It wasn't like obviously LeBron's one of the top 5 players that ever played, but he's younger than me. You know what I mean? So these are guys when I was going from adolescent to high school who were my favorites, and that's where it kind of stopped.
Do you have Jordan as the GOAT?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Where do you kind of where do you kind of fall in the LeBron? Like, how, you know, there's a lot of debate, LeBron versus Jordan. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think LeBron's, honestly, like, and I've known Bron since he was in high school. Honestly, I think Bron's kind of his own thing. I think he's like, if you say, okay, this is Magic Johnson, but he can jump like Jordan. Like he's more Magic Johnson to me than he is Jordan. Like Kobe is more Jordan to me. Just from the makeup and mentality, the scoring ability, the way they kind of view the game. Like LeBron, he would rather play the game. He plays the game with his IQ first. Not saying these other guys don't, but they do it more so with like, I'm gonna impose my will. That's how Jordan and Kobe kind of do it. LeBron, his first thought is to get everybody off. Like, let me get you guys off. Let me get your shots. I'll take over when I need to. But he's more, don't forget when he came in the league, he was a point guard.
Yep.
So to me, he's more, like cut from the Grant Hill, the Magic Johnson, that kind of cloth. And he just took it to a whole different thing. But that's who, to me, he is more so than Jordan.
Do you think people, because they compare LeBron and Jordan, but do you think people just overlook Kobe? Because you don't hear the Kobe, MJ, you know what I mean? Or even Kobe, LeBron, you hear LeBron, Jordan.
Yeah, that's amazing to me. Like, people forget how good Kobe was when he was 24 to 29 to 30, like at his peak. And he was still good all the way. He's one of the best players ever played. I'm saying they forget, like, when he was 28, how he was dominating the league. He averaged 50 for 2 weeks. Like, he had an 81-point game. He had 62, and Dallas had 61. Like, he has so many different things. Kobe's out of this world. You know what I mean? So to me personally, they're both on my top 5 best player list, like LeBron and Kobe, and obviously Jordan.
Who's the rest of that list?
That list, and I never even said that. That list to me is Jordan, Magic, Kareem, LeBron, and Kobe. Wow. Kobe, LeBron, not in order, but I'm just saying those are the 5.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to nobody else.
Yep.
I just think you could put in any era and it would be the same. And I'm not saying it wouldn't for other people, but it's just, I just think it'd be the same if you put them in any era. They could dominate any era.
Who's the best player that you played against? I mean, one-on-one, like that you guarded, that guarded you. You know what I mean? Who would you say? Okay. What was that
Kobe.
like guarding him?
It was, you never knew what he was going to do. Like most people, especially now, a lot of the guards, like we talk about, they do it with their handles. Kobe does it with his footwork. So his is so different because he can have you jumping. He'll pump fake 3 times until you don't jump anymore. Then he'll shoot. Like he was such a technician, and he had the ultimate green light and the ultimate confidence. So he was a nightmare to guard. Like you knew that something bad was going to happen when you were guarding him. Yeah. So for me, he was like the toughest to guard, and then Allen Iverson, and then Dwayne Wade.
Okay.
Those 3 were like the absolute toughest I ever had to guard and match up with.
Now, I imagine you're the type of guy that when you go on the court, you feel like you can outplay anybody. How do you have that mentality when you're facing guys that are, like you said, top 5 all time? They're always on the all-star team. This dude is like an all-time great, and most people would say better than you. How do you go out there and feel like I can outplay him?
Right. Well, for me, I think, first off, I think that's half the battle, right? Like most of the guys think, oh, this is that guy, and they don't want to attack them. No, I'm going to attack them because you may score on me, and we all know I'm not the best defender. Like, I'm just being all the way honest. But I feel like I can make something good happen on my way when I got the ball either way, because at my size, at 6'5", to be able to handle the ball like that and be able to shoot, I feel like you got to get up something. Like, you either respect the drive, you can respect the shot. So I feel like I can get wherever I want to go on offense, no matter who you are. Mm-hmm. That's no disrespect to the best defenders ever played. That's just the confidence I have from the work I put in and from my game being different and just unique. I think I can, pretty much get mine off against anybody.
Was there a defender, or is there, that you just hate going to, like, man, just a pest? You know what I mean?
Tony Allen,
okay.
Definitely. Because he takes pride in defense like guys do when they're scoring the ball. So him getting a stop is him scoring. You know what I mean? So he was cut differently. He's going to always play aggressive. He had quick feet and he had quick hands. So he was definitely one of the toughest to ever play against. Bill Christie was great. He had great instincts, great length, quick, fast, all that as well. Bruce Bowen was great. Avery Bradley is great now. Yeah. There's some guys who are really, can really do a good job defensively. Kawhi Leonard's great on defense. Draymond is great overall because he can guard anybody. You know, guys that run pick and roll and switch. I go against a guy every day who's great on defense, and Jimmy Butler as well. You know, there's some good defenders. Yeah.
There was a great Sports Illustrated piece on you recently, and I read something in there. It was hard for me to believe.
Right?
Yeah, oh yeah, it was great. It was great.
He killed it.
Somebody, I think it was some of your friends were saying in the piece that you never work on your handle. I mean, you know, just when you playing pickup and games, you'll work on it, but you don't just go and do ball handling drills and stuff. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. And to me, that's why I think my ball handling is different than anybody else's, because it's not scripted. I'm only reading what you're doing. You know, I have a foundation of what I like to do, but after that, it's just read and react. And I came up with that, just always keeping a basketball in my hands. I remember dribbling down the street, people walking towards me, I'm shaking them. You know, these people go in their office, they're looking at me like I'm crazy, right? And I got the ball walking in the mall. I got it going to movie theaters. I'm traveling on the airplanes.
Would you dribble in the mall?
Oh yeah, for sure. I dribble anywhere. And I'm just reading and reacting. And to me, it's more realistic from that standpoint, playing and doing it. Because if I'm just doing cone drills, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that to kind of give you a start, your foundation, but it's not realistic because that cone is not a 6'6", 6'7" athletic wing who can cut you off and slide and move. You know what I mean? So if you do that move you were doing with a cone, it doesn't work. Then what do? You're kind of stuck because you didn't come up with a counter or you weren't. You know what I mean? So it just wasn't realistic to me. I'm like, I'll just try it against the grown men and the people I'm playing against and see what works and what doesn't.
Wow, that's interesting, man. You're going to have kids doing that now. You know, faking out corporate executives on their way as they walking down the street.
With that basketball, it just became one. And it's crazy to be honest with you. See, I can do everything I do with the ball with my eyes open, my eyes closed. Like it's just a part of my hand. The ball is really like a part of my hand. I can do anything with my eyes closed that I can do with my eyes open.
There are guys that are great, you know, dunkers, obviously, great ball handlers, great shooters. You know, I don't even want to mention great defenders. That's not as much of a skill as the other things I mentioned. But if you had to pick one that you were known for, not that you couldn't do other things, but, you know, if you had one of those ultimate skills, what would it be? Ball handling, shooting, or dunking?
Oh, it just has to be one?
Yeah, like, you know, you were known. Like Steph, he got a great handle, but he's kind of known for his shooting. Dr. J going to be known for dunking.
Me, I think ball handling.
Okay.
For me, more ball handling. Yeah, because like you said, at a time when I was coming up, it wasn't really acceptable in the NBA. It's like, yeah, you do that on the street. You can't do that in the NBA with the best players in the world. So I kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say brought it to it because I didn't bring it to the NBA, but I kind of made it work in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Kind of that and one kind of flavor, you know, and obviously Skip did it and other guys did it, but I kind of, you know, I outlasted the guys who they kind of frowned upon for doing that.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, I think the ball handling part for sure.
You and I, we were texting a few weeks ago. I was trying to figure out the hip-hop equivalent of you. You know, you kind of mentioned your favorite player's favorite player, you know, and you would be, you know, a lot of guys, you would be that for them. I think the ultimate, like I put this out on Twitter too, and the best one I saw was Jada Kiss. Like I would say Jada Kiss would be your hip-hop equivalent. Who do you feel, though, is your hip-hop equivalent?
I would say Kiss. And I mean, I think Andre 3000, and the reason I say that with 3000 is because, to be honest with you, like, everybody now kind of knows me as a sixth man and all that, but who's to say, like, in this new league where guards can really fire it up and, you know, score and do their thing, and me kind of sacrificing in the middle of my career being a sixth man after averaging 20 for 3 straight years, what if I was like, no, I'm not going to be a sixth man, I'm just going to continue to start, and kind of stay headstrong with that. You know what I mean? And kind of just stay to see, you know, how good I could have really gotten. Because I know I sacrificed a lot, you know, and that's just the reality of it. Yep. I sacrificed a whole lot to become a sixth man. So if I would have just stayed true and was like, you know what, I'm just going to ride this thing out. I'll eventually get to a winning team. I'm going to stay starting. I'm going to stay, you know, doing what I can to kind of help change that and do numbers and all that. Then who knows if my career will look different or not. So,
what?
So I say Drake.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said Drake 3000. I say Dre 3000 from the standpoint that, you know, he never dropped a solo album, but he was always known as part of being in a group. You know, like I'm kind of that group guy right now. I never really got a chance to drop that real solo album. So
yeah,
and his game is different.
Yeah,
with the metrics, analytics, and all that. So
yeah, that makes
that
sense. That makes sense. What led you to accept that the 6-man award? Because you were right in the middle of your prime, your 10th year, still young. You know, what led you to do that?
Honestly, at the core of who I am, like as much as I love basketball, I love winning. So I got to the point, you know how it is. Once you've been in the league 8, 9 years, they don't care whose fault it is at that point. If you haven't won, it's coming back to you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm like, I want to win more than anything. So I'll do whatever it takes. I'll be a 6th man. And when I said that, I really meant it. And I guess, you know, from there, my career's taken on a life of its own and a whole different path. But I never come off the bench up until that point, my whole life. Like, I never. You know, so that was a whole different journey, you know, and I think for me, that's what I think I'm most proud about, having 18 different coaches and being able to adjust to every single situation and being able to rise above it, like no matter what it was. Imagine if a guy's in college right now, he's a freshman, he has a good year, he averages 15. His sophomore year, he has a different coach. The coach don't really like him as much. He averages 7 points. There's nothing wrong with him, but the coach don't want to use him that way. His junior year, he gets another coach, and this one kind of likes him, so he averages about 11. In the senior year, you know, he has a different coach, and this coach doesn't want to play him at all. So all those different situations and able to rise above it. And like, I came in this game as a point guard. Then I got moved to a 2 guard. Then I was a starter. And I got moved to the bench. And through all that, I was able to rise above it. And that's what I think I'm most proud of.
You mentioned, you know, young guys, you get to a point in your career where you just want to win. My feeling, I've covered the league over 20 years, is that when young guys come into the league, your main goals are to establish yourself as a star individually, to get that max deal, you know, because it is a business and it's how you make your living. And then I feel like as you said, when you don't win, no matter how good you are, people don't really give you the respect your game deserves. And then that's when a lot of guys, you know, start thinking, yo, I want to win. I'll sacrifice a little bit to win. Do you feel that's an accurate depiction of what? Because I don't think most dudes come in the league like, I just want to win a championship, even if I only average 6 points. You know what I'm saying?
To be honest, to me, I think the first thing people do when they come in, besides even the max contract, before that, they want to establish that they belong. They want the respect of all their peers that, you know what, I didn't make a mistake coming out. I'm doing my thing. You know, people back in my hometown are like, man, you're not just on the bench anymore. You playing in there. You establish yourself. So I think that's like the first thing. You want to show that you belong among the best players in the world. Then once you kind of conquer that, you're like, okay, I want to, like you said, I want to get a big contract. I want to, you know, I want to be an all-star. I want to do this and that. Then that's when that stuff starts coming in. Then it's almost like you go full circle to when you were just in high school or a child. After all those things are accomplished, or, you know, you kind of get that out the way, your mindset changes, whatever it might be. You're like, I just want to win, whatever it takes. And you see guys kind of go through that. And for me, it was just like at the core of who I was at, like my first 2 years with the Bulls, we were the youngest team in the league both years, back to back, you know, and then I went to a Knicks team that could have won. We were kind of in transition. And then once we start getting good, I get traded. Then I go to a Golden State team who is after the We Believe, you know, era, and Monte has come back from a moped injury. So it was like just bad timing. And I was like, man, I don't care what it is. I just want to win. Forget I averaged 20 points for 3 straight years or whatever, or accumulatively 20 points. I just want to win. So I'll be a 6th man, whatever it takes. And that's when it kind of went from there.
You mentioned at one point that you had 18 coaches in I think this is your 18th season? Yeah, so 18 coaches, 18 seasons. Only 3 players have ever had more than that. Do you ever think about what your career would have been? Let's say early in your career or the middle of your career, you know, you were in a stable situation. Like you had one coach for 4 or 5 years straight or 6 years. You know what I mean? Like a more stable situation. Right. Where do you think your career might have gone?
It'd have been totally different. You know what I mean? Like, just like if you imagine like say you're at this show, then you're that show, the next year you just keep constantly kind of moving. It's hard to really, you know, say, okay, I'm gonna do the best I can do and really grow from this point on, like in this situation, you know, because everything's changing. I've had the same coach back-to-back years twice in my career. once in New York, and with Doc. Where they were like back-to-back years, I had the same coach. You know, so it's totally. Look at Manu. Look at Tony Parker.
Yeah.
Like they played for one coach their whole career. So he was able to learn them. They learned him. They were able to see him grow. They knew, they knew each other. You know, when you know somebody like that, you know what makes him tick, what doesn't. You know what it is to push him. I'm putting him in the best situations or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a whole different comfort level. You know, and that's why for me, it's just my career. This is just my journey. I would have never predicted it went like this, but this is kind of what it is. So I was trying to make the best of the situation.
A lot of people would probably put you on the list of top players that hasn't made an All-Star game. How many All-Star games you feel like you should have made?
I feel like I should have made 3. And I even know the years of them, to be honest with you.
What years?
So one year, if you go back and look, I averaged, I think it was 06, 07, or 07, or 08. I averaged 20 points, 6 assists. No, 20 points, 5 assists. I was only one of 3 players in the league not to average, to average over 20 and 5 and not make the All-Star game. And I was in New York. And at that time, it was like, well, you got to be winning. Well, since then, I've seen guys who aren't winning who put up numbers and make the All-Star game. So I'm like, okay. So that was one. My first year in Atlanta, when I averaged 18 off the bench, we were the 3rd seed. We got 2 guys to the All-Star team. I'm the 2nd leading scorer off the bench. I'm like, oh, this is the year I'm going to make it. And you know how they do like the award shows, and I think Charles Barkley and Chris Webber, I'm going to send you a picture of it. They even had me on their All-Star team. Like, you're going to make it.
Okay.
He's going to make it this year, right? But I was coming off the bench. I could have did the exact same thing starting, averaging 18 points. They would say, oh, he's going. But since I was coming off the bench, it didn't happen. So that was the 2nd time. And then the 3rd time was my first year in L.A. Again, I was leading 4th quarter in scoring, 2nd leading scorer on my team. We were actually fighting for number 1 in the whole Western Conference the night they selected. And we ended up losing, so we lost OKC that night, I think. And we were 2nd, but I was still 2nd leading scorer. And again, 2 people had me on their All-Star list. Didn't make it. So that was the 3 times I thought I really should have made it.
Do you remember who made it over you?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you my first year in New York. I'm sorry, not New York. My first year in L.A., me and Steph are talking on the court. I'm like, oh, because you remember, in 12, he didn't make the All-Star team either.
Yeah.
So my first year in L.A., we're talking like, man, you think you're going to make it? He's like, man, if you don't, he said, if I don't, I think you are, and if you don't, I think I am. So we both thought one of us was going and one of us wasn't at the time.
Wow.
And neither one of us made it. Yeah, neither one of us made it.
What is it hard for you, or was it those years, or just during that prime of your career, to watch the All-Star game? Because you feel like you should be there?
Yeah, it was. Nah, it really was. And you know what? I've never been to one. I always said I would never go to an All-Star game or an All-Star weekend unless I make the game. And I've gotten invited to the 3-point contest. I've gotten invited to the skills challenge over the years, but
so that's why you don't go. So you turn them down because you wow.
Yep, that's why. So I was like, my talent warrants that like being an All-Star game. So I'm not going to sell myself short and say, oh, I'm part of the festivities of the weekend. Like, no, I'm not in the game. I'm not going to the game or any of that. So I've never been.
That's interesting. Now, you from Seattle, and man, I mean, Seattle, y'all produce some tremendous players. I mean, Isaiah Thomas, Brandon Roy, Nate Robinson, Jason Terry, Avery Bradley. Now you got Michael Porter Jr.,
Brooks. Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah, like, how do you account for that? I mean, I don't remember Seattle before all you guys being like a basketball hotbed. I mean, you had a couple guys, James Edwards, but you know what I mean? Like, why do you think Seattle became this just great basketball area?
Well, it rains a lot, so we always in the gym. Nah, for real, it was, first it was like Clint Richardson, it was James Edwards, and then it was Christie, and then it was like a real, real big gap. And after that, it was Mike Dickerson and Jason Terry. And so when I was in high school, it was a big thing. More guys, it was more known as a football state. Like, more guys were going to college and the NFL from the state of Washington than basketball was. So after Jason Terry went in 99, and then I came in 2000, and then the door just got kicked open. Then you got Nate, you got D-Roy, you got Martell, you got Spencer, you got Luke, you got Avery, you got Isaiah, you got Stuckey, you got everybody. Yep. You know what I mean? So it just really kicked in the door. And I think part of that was the culture we kind of created. You know, and it started when I was in Chicago. I saw Antoine Walker over here. I saw Mike Finley over here. I saw Tim Hardaway over here. And they, like, played basketball together. But, you know, to me, that's all I really saw. So I'm like, no, when I go home, I want the older generation to kind of be around the younger generation, whether in high school, 8th grade, whatever, and we just create this community. And that's kind of what we've done, and we just kind of kept it going.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, per capita, you guys, that's probably arguably the best place in the country for basketball.
Yeah, it's one of them.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of them. I don't want to shortchange anybody, but it has to be top 2 or 3 for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, Michael Porter Jr., he's at Missouri. Probably one and done. Could be the number 1 pick. He scored 47 in your Pro-Am league this summer. How good you think he'll be? You know, can be in the league.
He's unbelievable. Yeah, he's unbelievable. And you know what? Mike is driven. He's really driven. He's not one to get sidetracked. And it's easier for this generation to get sidetracked. Everything's right there. You have instant access. You know, whether social media or just anything, you can pretty much do and say anything. But with him, he's always in the gym. He's always working on his game. He's always asking how to be better. He's raised right. His parents do a great job with him. He has a great supportive system with his family. His brother's really good too, Jonte. Is really, really good. You know, I think one day he'll be a pro. Okay. But they're just good people. You know, good Midwestern people, and they really, really care about, you know, just each other's family and just their well-being. And he's always in the gym. And he's at 6'9", 6'10", and he shoots like a pro right now. Like, he's a pro-level shooter. You know what I mean? It's different if you go in LA Fitness, a guy makes 7 out of 10. But a pro walks in, I don't care if he's the last guy on the team, he's going to make 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. Yep. He's that type of shooner right now.
Wow.
So, yeah, he can only get better.
Now, Isaiah, I know you're good friends with Isaiah Thomas, the one with Cleveland now. Yeah. How, you know, Cleveland's struggling, but obviously, I mean, Isaiah's not there. When he gets back, first of all, do you know how healthy, you know, you think he'll come back 100%, and how much you think he'll help Cleveland when he comes back?
Oh, I have no doubt. He'll be that guy that's like legit secondary scorer. You know what I mean? That LeBron's kind of been missing. Obviously, you have guys who are very capable, D-Wade and JR and K-Love and Shumpert and Jeff Green will have big nights. And you have all those Derrick Rose, who I love, all those guys. But Isaiah, you know, you can put in 20-plus every single night. You could just put it in the books. That's just his mentality. That's the way he can score the ball. And I think when you have a guy like that, it puts everybody else kind of at ease. You know, they don't have so much pressure to try to do stuff, and things become easier for the rest of the team. And he's excited, and he's working out more. He's doing a lot more, you know, and he's responding well to the workouts he's doing. So I think it's just a matter of time now. But I'm excited just besides him being like my brother, just as a basketball fan, to see what their team look like whole again.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he like extra motivated? Because, you know, Kyrie's balling obviously in Boston and they're winning. Is he really extra motivated to come out and just show people, look, this wasn't a bad trade for Cleveland and all that stuff?
Absolutely. And the thing about Isaiah, it could be summer league. If he hears somebody say something, and he hears everything, believe you me. So if he hears somebody on the street, say something, he's like, where's he at? Let's go. He's motivated. That's just kind of, that chip now has become like a boulder, you know, on his shoulders. So he's ready. And trust me, when he gets back on the court, and it's weird how things work out sometimes because he loves basketball like very few people I know. You know, he's watching every single game, no matter what it is. There's never been a time he's called me or I've called him like, hey, let's go play, let's go shoot, and it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. You know, so he's one of those guys. And for him to have the game taken away from you, you know, he just can't. It's like a whole different, he loved it and appreciated it more than almost anybody I know, but it's even a whole different level of appreciation when he gets back out there.
Interesting. Now, you lived, I know, from Seattle, obviously, but you lived in Los Angeles or Inglewood for a good part of your, you know, teenage years. Yeah, and the story, you know, it's been documented. You were living with your grandparents, and your dad was also in Inglewood, and you wanted to go back to Seattle, but, you know, your mom in Seattle kind of wanted you to have your dad's influence on you, and, you know, you were your grandparents. And so you secretly buried a suitcase in your backyard and kind of gradually packed it, you know, so they wouldn't notice all your clothes gone, and then flew to back to Seattle from a ticket secretly, because a ticket that your sister has sent you. Kind of take me back to that story and why you did it. And then finally, I want to hear you talk about, like, what do you think would have happened to you or your life if you had stayed in Inglewood instead of going to Seattle?
Well, for me, I'm, born and bred in Seattle, but I was back and forth between Seattle and Los Angeles because, my grandmother lived down there, and my mom thought I needed a male role model in my life because I was pretty much, to be honest with you, at that age, I'm 8, 9, 10 years old coming in the house at 11, 12 at night. My mom was like, you run with the wrong crowd. It's time to go with your dad. So I went down there. I was there from 13 to 16. We lived in Inglewood. Funny story, Paul Pierce, who I knew in Inglewood, he was in a barbershop one time. We were both in a barbershop. And
now, was he, what was he? You were 14? Okay. So how old was
he?
He?
So he was like 17.
So he was like a senior in high school or something?
Yeah. And I'm like, this is the great Paul Pierce everybody's talking about. And he looked at me and was like, ain't you supposed to be in school right now? I'm 14 years old. I'm ineligible. I'm not going to class like I should be. He's like, ain't you supposed to be in school right now? So I knew Paul. We got into an argument from 14 to 18. Think about it. Go ahead. I make to the NBA. He's a Hall of Famer. Like, it's funny how life works out sometimes. But
wow.
Anyways,
did he
back,
know you? Did he know you had game and that you were wasting it?
No, he knew. We were going to exactly the same barber was telling like, nah, he got game. P, he just got to get his stuff right, And that's when P like really lit into me. Like, ain't you supposed to be in class? How you gonna go anywhere? You ain't going to class, Because at that age, when you're a senior, you may have 4 classes or 5 classes or whatever.
Yeah.
You got a little more leeway than the guy who's a freshman in school. So, yeah, he lit into me good, but he had never even seen me play at that point. But he heard I was good.
Okay. So
going back to that, I was like, man, I'm down here in L.A. I got all these rules. I'm going to church every Sunday. Nothing wrong with church. It's just so much structure.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like as far as like, just I'm picking up dog poop. I got to water the grass 3 times a week. Like I just had so many chores and things that I didn't have in Seattle. Seattle, I was coming and going as I pleased. No matter 12, 13 years old, I'm coming here 11 at night. That's just I was kind of the man of the house.
Yeah.
So from that, I'm like, man, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. So finally, I built up enough courage in my sister. When I was 16, she sent me a plane ticket. But at that time, remember, it wasn't like electronic tickets. Like they sent the plane ticket.
Yeah.
So I'm getting to the mail before my grandparents and my dad. I'm like, I gotta get this ticket. So I finally get the ticket. It's for like a month and a half from now. And what I did was my suitcase, I buried it in the backyard. So every day I wore an outfit. I just threw it in the, take it out when I was watering the grass or whatever, clean up the dog poop. I'd go drop my clothes in there. And of course I didn't take everything because I couldn't, tip it off when I was leaving. Yeah. So I left some clothes there. But that's what I did until the day finally came. And I finally got to the airport. And I remember a guy there. He was like, where you going, Seattle? I'm like, man, the Fed. Like, who's following me? This is crazy. But at that point, once I got to the airport, and they knew once I got to Seattle, they knew they couldn't get me back. But I also knew once I got back to Seattle, I was going to get my stuff together and get serious about schooling. And the rest is history.
So was the motivation, did Pierce motivate you that I got to get my grades right so I can play ball? Or was it just that you just wanted to go back to Seattle because it would be more lax? You wouldn't have as many chores and much discipline.
Yeah. I think, like, the Pierce stuff I never forgot, and that was part of it, but that wasn't the reason I left to get, you know what I mean? Like, I always wanted, I never wanted to leave, and I was basically, I wouldn't get in the exact same trouble, but I was basically not going to class and doing stuff, ditching class, running through the wrong crowd that I shouldn't have been doing anyway. And I was like, okay, I've seen enough. Once I get back to Seattle, now I have some structure. I know how to, like, set a table with a fork, knife, spoon. I've learned some things. So now I can go back and kind of make this change that I really want to make, and that's what I did.
So if you would say, let's say that didn't happen and you stayed in Inglewood, finished high school there, what do you think your life would have turned out?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I believe, those are destined for it. It would have been, I think, a different route because I don't think I would have been serious with my grades. So I would have had to go to JUCO route, and then from there, anything can happen. But I don't know. I think I still would have made it to this point. It's just been a lot different journey as far as getting here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, your life and career, I've read a lot about it. It's kind of been learning from your mistakes, and making the necessary changes. I know when I first
Yeah,
met you,
yeah.
I think it was when you signed with the Knicks. And, ever since I know you, you just been, easy going, really nice guy and all that. It's hard for me to imagine you another way, but how
Yeah.
would you say you were early in your career? Like, were you a much different type of person earlier in your career, like when you were at the Bulls and stuff like that?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Like I played with Eddie Curry in Chicago, and I played with him again in New York. When we got to New York, he was like, "Man, who are you?" Like it was a whole different transformation. Because my first year, coming to Chicago, my league, I wanted to be the next Allen Iverson. I had 35 pictures of him on my wall. That's where all the tattoos came from. That's where the chains came from, the bandanas. Like I wanted to be the next Allen Iverson. You know what I mean? That was my
Yeah.
whole thing. Like I felt like I had that street game. I could relate to him. So for me, going to Chicago, like I was like, I'm here to take over the league. I'm here, that was my thinking.
Yeah.
Like can't nobody guard me. Can't nobody guard me. This is all that. So I had so much growing to do. And don't forget, when I went into the NBA, I was 19 years old. So I had so much learning to do and so much more uh, things to go through. And how to respond to certain things and how to learn. And for me, I think not only it was the beginning part of Chicago, because when I tore my ACL, and at that time, people weren't really coming back from ACL. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
was, even 10 years before that, it was taking people out. So when I tore my ACL, it really allowed me to slow down, to grow, to really get to know me, to really see what I really wanted out of my career, like what I really wanted, and for me, that helped me grow up. And by that third, fourth year in Chicago, everything was all good. But the first 2 years, boy, it was rough. Like I was that young guy on the team that nobody wanted. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
nobody wants. Man, he's a hard head. I want to be around him. That was me. That was
Wow.
totally me.
You worked out with Michael Jordan a lot. I think when he was talking about coming back to play in Washington.
Yeah, it's the wizard. Uh-huh.
What was that like? I mean, what were there any incidents or stories you remember that kind of illustrate how great he was or how competitive or determined or anything like that?
Yeah, you know what? The first time I actually met him, Tim Grover called me and was like, "Hey, MJ said you can meet him." It was weird because my dad had told me that he really, I'm hearing Jordan likes your game. And my dad, by the way, played at Oregon with Kevin Love's dad. They played together.
Okay.
But he was like, "I'm hearing Jordan likes your game." I'm like, "Man, come on, Dad. Like, how you gonna hear that? This is before social media. This is all whatever." So, anyways, one day I get drafted by Chicago. Tim Grover calls and he's like, "Hey, MJ said you can meet him." He calls me early. I'm like, "All right." So I get down there at about 6:30, no, about 7. I get down there about 7 o'clock. Jordan's in there working out. It's just me, him, and Grover in the weight room. And we're talking. I'm like, I can't believe I'm in here with Michael Jordan. Like, this is the first time I ever met him. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. He had been there since 5:30 in the morning. He was trying to make a comeback, and he was 40. So I'm like, this dude's 40 years old. And he's working out at 5:30 in the morning. Like, so that was that struck me initially. Like when I went in there, I don't know if you've ever seen that thing in the weight room where you kind of put those booties on your feet and you can slide like a defensive slide. He was doing that drill when I walked in there. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And then it got to a point we start playing together, and if he happened to lose, at first he would play without me, and he would lose, and he would go sit in the corner by himself like he lost a championship game. He would not talk to anybody. I walk in there. And then it got to a point he wouldn't play until I got there because I had to work out with the Bulls at the Borough Center, drive 30 minutes downtown. And then from that point on, we played together 2 summers and never lost one game. In 2 summers, every single day.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
And I felt my game coming to another level. Like, it was crazy. Like, playing with him. When you play with better people, you become better. And It just, like, I felt my game going to a whole different level. And he really, like, took me under his wing. I started going to his house. It was just like normal. Like, he's the person, to be honest with you, he's the guy who told me where to go to get my surgery for my ACL
Really?
in Alabama. Because you remember he was down there in Birmingham.
Yeah.
It was like, that's it. Take it a step further.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Take it a step further. Michael Jordan is the one that made the introduction with Jay-Z happen. Imagine being so cool with Michael Jordan. I'm like, man, I want to meet Jay-Z. He's like, you know what I mean? Okay. So imagine that.
So you told him you wanted to meet Jay-Z and he made it happen.
Yeah, he made it happen. He picked me to be in a commercial with him. I was in the commercial when he was I don't know if you remember that. It was a Gatorade commercial when he was the old Jordan versus the younger Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He picked me to be in that with him. And he had somebody do the dunk scenes, but he picked me to be in that with him as well. And I just saw him again this summer to reconnect, and it was cool. My son went to his camp, and my nephew went to his camp, actually.
What is that like, meeting? I mean, you met Jay-Z, you meeting Jordan, but obviously you're going to meet the basketball players that you grew up idolizing, but meeting other superstars, Jay-Z, and I'm sure you met many more. What is that like for a 19, 20-year-old kid?
Yeah, it's like, it's so unbelievable because these are guys that just a year ago or 2 years ago were like so far-fetched. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like they lived in the sky. Like you'll never see a Michael Jordan, you'll never see a Jay-Z. You know what I mean? Like it was so far-fetched that it didn't even seem possible. But for some of my favorite people ever, like Jay-Z, Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, for these people to not only know my name but like my game and like me, like I couldn't even dream of that.
You mentioned how you changed a lot in your career from early on. Like a lot of people, you see a lot of players mature in leaps and bounds over the course of their career. What is it like to be a 20-year-old kid, sometimes even younger, and all of a sudden maybe you grew up without a lot of money, and all of a sudden you're a multi-millionaire with basically the world at your hands. You can do whatever you want to do. That has to be a tough transition. I hate to say tough, but you know what I mean? Like to all of a sudden you got all the money you could dream of, and you can meet all these celebrities, and you got people treating you like a superstar. I think people don't realize how much of a transition that can be for a kid, all of a sudden to have that overnight.
Right, and there's no real manuscript for it. There's no manual. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's almost a surreal feeling. Imagine if somebody on the street right now just happened to win the lottery for $20 million. Like, dang, what do I do? Like I didn't. What do I do now? Do I go get a finance? You know what I mean? Just whatever it is. I can go do this. Stuff you dreamed about the day before. Like, whether it was a car, a house, getting your mom a house, stuff you dreamed like was so far-fetched because they're dreams and you want goals, but still, a lot of people don't get a chance to accomplish their dreams or reach their dreams. So it's like, how can you, condemn somebody who's never had anything and now they can have everything? Yeah, they're going to act a fool.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to. Mm-hmm. Especially if there's not somebody in their corner or coming from a stable situation or mentors or the guys where they know, because why else would they know, what to do?
Yeah.
And so it's just, and sometimes you got to take your lumps. And for me personally, I've always learned more like going through it. Like, this isn't for me. This isn't what I need to be doing. I'll never do it again in life. And I have no problem dropping something cold turkey. Like, that's like, I can do that with no problem.
I saw
so
you
for
did.
Me,
I saw there. I read. I think it was in the Undefeated story about how you were gambling a lot early on. And you lost like Tell me about that.
Yeah, and that was something I've always done when I was a kid in high school. 8th grade, I used to shoot dice. And gamble. Obviously, it was never for that amount. It'd be for ones, or it'd be, for lunch or whatever it might be. And obviously, the more you come into, the more you can win or lose, So for me, I got into it, and then I got deeper than I needed to get. I lost, ended up losing the car, and that was it. I'm like, oh, man. Like, I really lost. I took my basketball out, like, here, and I never did it again with, people like that.
Did you say you lost your car?
Yeah.
So you had to get out of the car, like that, right that moment somebody took your car?
That was it. I took my basketball out. You got it.
And you had to walk home.
Yep.
Wow. What kind of car was it?
For me, it was a Mercedes. But for me, it was great. Not that I lost the car, but it was great that I learned from that. And I never, it's not, sometimes in life, it's not a loss, it's a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that was an absolute lesson. It's something I never did again. But imagine, and that's when I was on my rookie contract. So imagine now with the money I made in my career, if I still had that problem or had not been through it. Now the loss would be way more because I have way more, money and access to things. So I'm glad I went through it in my first couple of years and was done with it.
Wow. I'm still tripping off the car. Like that moment it was like somebody else drove off in your car. You was just left with the
my shiny ride, man. I was like, oh,
this is serious,
but
right?
when you're a high draft pick and you're a rookie, you usually get a truck and a car. That was kind of like the thing. All right, you're gonna get a truck, you're gonna get a car. So my car left. I had the truck.
Who took the car?
At the moment, obviously, because I drove it.
Yeah, who took the car?
Who? Oh, the guy I lost to.
Oh, it wasn't a player.
The guy I lost.
It wasn't another player?
No, it wasn't a player. It wasn't a player. It was a guy I lost to. Yeah, and I took my basketball out and I had it in the trunk. I was gone.
Wow. How big is gambling? I mean, obviously I've covered the league a long time. I heard stories. But how big is gambling in the NBA culture?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of guys do it now. It's not even for as much the money part. I think it's to bypass time. You may have a 3-hour flight, 4-hour flight. You may not just want to watch movies or, listen to music or whatever. So guys play cards. Obviously, everybody's competitive. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it goes there. Sometimes it's little things you lose. Sometimes it's big things. I've heard stories as well. But, for me, I just always like, I'm not getting back in that world, because I had a tough loss. But I learned from it, and that was for me. Yeah.
So on the plane, do you play cards with guys? You just don't gamble, or you just more chilling? No. What do you do on the plane?
I don't even watch. I got my iPad. I'm doing a question and answer on Twitter. I'm listening to music. I'm watching a movie. That's it. Or I'm asleep. Yeah. I don't even.
Do you talk to the young guys in the league that you encounter about some of the mistakes you made, and do they listen, or do they just got to experience it themselves?
I think both. Like I definitely give the knowledge I got at this point and tell them different things, and I think they listen. But it's almost like a person can listen, but they're like, hey, this is hot. Mm-hmm. Like, nah, it's not that hot. I want to touch it. Is it really that hot? Let me touch it and see. So sometimes you got to do that. Go through it to kind of say, okay, it is hot. You're right. I ain't messing with it. Mm-hmm. But if you don't ever touch it, it's going to always be in your head. Like, I wonder if I could really touch it and not get burned. Let me see how hot that is.
Yeah.
One
of the young, obviously really hyped young players, Lonzo Ball, he's come in with tremendous hype. I can't remember the last player to come in with this much. How do guys in the league look at that? Is there any resentment that he's getting so much publicity? I mean, I saw ESPN hype the Lakers game against the Celtics last week as Lonzo Ball. Not Lonzo versus Kyrie, not Celtics versus Lakers, but Lonzo Ball. Do you think their guys resent that and are going at him extra hard? Also, his dad obviously has created a lot of the hype.
Yeah, I think for him personally, because if you listen to his interviews, he's such a polished kid. Like he's not one to make you not like him. Mm-hmm. He's a great teammate. He's from everything you read and hear, he's a great teammate. I got a chance to know him and Melo a little bit, and those guys are great, and Lonzo's great. You know what I mean? So I think most of that is from the attention he's getting, but he's not. If you really look at it, he's not doing anything to try to get attention. Mm-hmm. Like he's just playing, he's just hooping. Mm-hmm. So obviously he's not saying, okay, ESPN or whoever it might be, say it's the Lonzo Ball show, or whatever it might be. And they're not stupid. People, what's hot is going to get viewers, get more money. Like it's all connected. So, but for him, at the root of it, he's just a good kid who's just playing. And I couldn't imagine being, 19, 20 years old with that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
I had enough pressure being a lottery pick, like going to Chicago. That kind of pressure, that's totally different.
You got two great young teammates in Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins. What do you see for them in the future? Like, how bright is their future as players?
Yeah, I think they can be as good as they want to be. And it's really cool that they're coming up together, different positions. You know what I mean? So there's a solid foundation there. As long as you keep those two for X amount of years, and you keep solid veterans around them and good players around them, then they'll always be able to learn. From the guys who are older. These guys are only 22 years old. Mm-hmm. So mm-hmm. They're already pillars in NBA franchise at 22. So when you have guys who are good at showing them the right way and things to do, things not to do around them, I think they'll just continue to grow and mature.
I think they could be, like you said, a super team. I mean, arguably, y'all already got a ton of talent to be maybe a quote-unquote super team. But you just left the super team. I say all the time, I mean, the Clippers had a top 5 point guard in Chris Paul, top 5 center in DeAndre Jordan, top 5 power forward in Blake Griffin. a great shooter, J.J. Redick, one of the best 6 men of all time, and you. Like, why do you think it didn't work there with the Clippers?
Honestly, it was, part of it was, I'm not sure we were mentally tough enough for it to work. You know, when things are going good and everybody's, rolling, everything's easy. But when things get tough and then you splinter and you don't respond well, and sometimes we did respond well. I remember one series we played San Antonio, which, by the way, was the toughest series I've ever played in my life, like a team in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. We lost, I think we were down 2-1, had to go win game 4 in their court. We're down 3-2, had to go win game 6 on their court, and then had to win game 7 with CP getting hurt. So we showed some resolve and some, like real heart and character, but other times we didn't. And then other times our best 2 players got hurt in the playoffs. It wasn't like it happened in December and they had 2 months to come back. Like, so it was, some of it was bad luck and some of it was self-inflicted. But you're right. I think we were one of the, if you look, I mean, at that time period, we won like the 3rd or 4th most games in 5 years. Like we were really, really, like really, really, really good team who had potential to, I thought, get to the championship.
I've heard players say the culture was bad. Obviously Chris Paul left. Did you feel the culture was really that bad there?
I was there under 2 different coaches, honestly. Like, I know how it was when we had Vinny, and then we had a different team because we had Chauncey, we had Karan, we had Willie Green, we had Grant Hill, we had Lamar Odom. So I guess, I don't know if that was one culture, and then the next culture was when Doc and we got different players. I'm not sure exactly how they meant it when they said it. But for us, I thought, we were like any family, to be honest with you. We were good. We would argue. We had each other's backs. But, maybe after, a certain amount of time, 5-6 years together of not breaking through, maybe, things ain't, you kind of wear thin a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes jokes aren't funny. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
So it became that, I think, that, and it was time to go in a different direction.
I think it was the Sports Illustrated story where you said you'd never been yelled at by a teammate the way Chris Paul would yell at you. What was that like, and what was he like as a teammate?
Oh, he was great as a teammate. He was unbelievable. But I had never been yelled at like that. So I'm like, what? Like, it takes you all the way back to your childhood. Like, you ain't gonna yell at me like that, But then once you learn Chris and once you get to know him and once you see that's just who Chris is. Chris would yell at his dad if he was on the court. Like, it's not nothing personal because Chris is really just trying to win. Like, that's all it comes down to. He's not trying to embarrass you. He's not saying it for his own game. He's not saying it for anything else but to win that night. And once you learn that, then you don't hear the yelling no more. You just hear the message and what he's saying. So that's what happened. And that was the first year. I'm like, okay. By mid-season, like, oh, okay, he's not yelling at me like that. He's yelling for the betterment of the team.
Yeah.
And once you see that, then it became like, oh, okay. You start tuning that part of it out, and you just tune what he's saying. Like, okay, I got you. No problem.
Another big-name teammate of yours was Ron Artest, or Meta World Peace, back in Chicago.
Yeah.
You had him earlier in his career. Yeah.
What
was that like? I mean, he was, like you said, you were kind of young and immature. He was, too, at that point.
Yeah. But you know what? He was an unbelievable defender. He was unbelievably competitive. He was unbelievably strong. He was all around, and he just was real. That's the one thing I remember about Ron. He was just real. It was never like, I'm in the NBA now. He was just real. If he was down for you, he was down all the way for you. And we've seen that over the years. And that's just who he is. And I loved him. I loved him as a teammate.
You've won what's a record, 3 6-Man of the Year awards. What do you want people to think of when they hear your name, as a basketball player?
I don't want it to be the awards. I don't want it to be, anything else. But he brought something to the game. Like, he brought something. I'm gonna remember him. Because, there's been guys who've been all-stars, and if you say their name 10 years from now, you'd be like, oh, who did he play for? So for me, I just want you to, 10, 15, 20 years from now, I just want you to say, I remember him. Like, oh, he was nice. I remember him. Because there's been guys who are all-stars, even Hall of Famers, like, oh, if you go back 20, 30 years, who some people may not know.
Yep.
So for me, I just want you to be like, all right, just remember me.
Well, I don't even know if you know this, you're about to pass Dr. J in points in NBA scoring. You need like 167 points to pass him. Did you know that? Were you aware of that?
I wasn't aware it was that close, but once you start going, the names start jumping out. Like when I passed Magic or Pistol Pete, I'm like, man, this is. I would have never, if you would have told me I was a kid, you'll pass Magic Johnson in points or Pistol Pete in points one day, I would have never believed you. So to pass Dr. J and these guys, like, come on, man. I had the Dr. J hoop. That was the first hoop I ever had with his face on the backboard.
Wow.
And I actually have a picture of him this summer. Well, I went to the Big Three, and me and him had a picture together. And he was talking to me, and he really likes my game. I'm like, man, this is Dr. J. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a dream. And sometimes people don't get it until it's too late.
Yeah.
But I'm able to really take it in even while I'm in the moment. Like, this is Dr. J. Like, I've never been jaded. I've always been humbled by that. Like, this is Dr. J. This is guys I grew up admiring.
Yeah.
So for me, that's just like, it's amazing.
I told you at the beginning of the podcast, I had just done my top 5 game dunkers of all time. So here's my list, and then I wanted to, if you have a list, I wanted to get your list. At number 5, I got your former teammate Blake Griffin, who I think that's a controversial one. Number 4, I got Michael Jordan. Number 3, Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah.
Number 2, Dr. J, and number 1, Vince Carter.
Oof. I'll go with those same 5, but I got to put in, being from Seattle, I got to put in the Rain Man, Shawn Kemp.
Yeah, that's the controversial one. So who you taking out? You gotta.
I'm not taking.
That's a top 6 then.
Nobody. I'm the 6th man. I've earned that right to get 6. I'm going to put 6.
I feel you on that, man. Look, you 37. I know. I mean, you probably want to play forever. How much longer you really think you'll play?
For me, I think I'm in the outlier as far as like age. And if you just watch me play, right, you didn't know my age. You just watched me play a game and you saw me play. How old would you think I was?
Oh, early 30s?
See? So for me, the age part doesn't matter. I think age is only an issue when it starts to show. When guys aren't moving as quick, when they're not, you know what I mean? Like when they're not doing the same things they were once doing.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I don't think the age part will be it. I think it'll be more so, when I can't get double figures off the bench because I'm getting all the opportunity to at a time, the minutes to do it, but I can't do it if I can't help a team win or if I'm not in love with it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So when one of those things happens, I know it's time to go.
Do you know what you want to do when you're done playing, career-wise?
Yeah, I want to get in the front office for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen you do broadcasting and you're good, but you rather do in the front office.
Yeah, I'd rather do the front office. I like broadcasting. I love talking about the game. I think I have a lot of knowledge and I study it. I can go learn something from somebody right now just at a random gym just watching.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, and I enjoy that. So for me, I could see somewhere in between the two, but definitely the front office or broadcasting.
I'm going to hit you with a couple front office questions. One, who's the best player in the NBA right now?
Who's playing the best, or if I had to build a team? Like we got to make that question specific.
Well, let's go with both. First of all, who's playing the best right now? This season, not past last year, but this season, who's playing the best right now?
Right now, today, who's had the most impact on the season would probably be Greek Freak or James Harden right now today.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't think they're the best players in the NBA.
Who's the best?
Yeah, I think he's still all roads lead to Cleveland or Golden State with Durant.
Okay.
Like I think
It sounds so. I still would go with LeBron, but But I agree. I think it's LeBron or Durant.
Yeah. I think it's one of those two as the best player, just like the real life best player in the world.
Yeah. If you had to pick one, which one? See, these are the tough front office questions, man.
I couldn't. I know, right? I couldn't, but you couldn't go wrong with either one.
All right, who's the?
You couldn't, because if you think about it, right? If you think about it, I'm not saying like if you switched and put Katie in the East and LeBron in the West, maybe that changes the narrative of the story. I'm not saying LeBron doesn't still reach, 7 straight finals, but maybe it's different. Maybe it's harder. Maybe it's, who knows? Like, it's just, that's how I try to look at things. I don't try to look at just, like, if I put this person in this situation, that's what I've had to go through. So it's easy for me to think like that. Like, if I put him in this situation, could he still thrive? Could he still, you know what I mean? And obviously those two can do it.
Do you think Cleveland still wins the East?
Depending on when Isaiah gets back. Because right now, other teams are gaining confidence. Like they're gaining confidence. Like, oh, Cleveland may have a chink in their armor, because they haven't seen, Isaiah with Cleveland yet. So they don't know how that's going to fit. They know how it looked with Kyrie there because that's what they had seen for years.
Yeah.
And they saw when Cleveland was struggling, they saw how they ramped it up the second half of the season. And it's tough when you've been in 3 straight finals like that, where to find the motivation from every single night.
Yeah. So, I think that's a big part of what's going on with them. So what player you said that you would build it around? If you had to start a team today, who would you start it with?
Ooh, like a young player?
Most
like
likely.
An age, like we don't.
Yeah, because like
younger or 22 or younger.
Because you saying you building a team for the future, not to win the mark. You know what I mean? So I say a young player.
All right. Okay. Are we saying they're all healthy?
Yep.
If it's all healthy, I got to go to Embiid.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Well,
he's really. I've been in the gym with him, worked out with him, where he's shooting threes, like making them repeatedly. Like, so I've seen his work. Like, if we're going all healthy and like nobody can get hurt, it's just I'm going with, I think, Embiid.
So you would, because a lot of people, I think a lot of people would go with him too, but a lot of people might also say, well, the big man era is kind of dead. You know what I mean? You need a 3-point shooter or whatever. Go ahead.
Right. But when you're that good, I think you kind of transcend anything. You know what I mean? Because think about it. Before Steph and Golden State, they didn't think you could really win a championship shooting threes.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to kind of break the mold, and I think he's that talent that could break the mold. All healthy.
You mentioned Steph and Golden State. How do you think a team can beat them in a 7-game series?
Oof. That's a tall order. Because at this point, they're even more comfortable than they were last year. Mm-hmm. Last year, you kind of hope they wouldn't figure it out as fast. You kind of hope that, they would figure out who's going to be the guy and who, you know what I mean? Like, just those little things that go through. You hope egos will play a part. As a competitor, you hope egos will play a part, things like that. But now it's even more of an easier transition for those guys. They kind of figure out everything. So it's tough. I think that's kind of like the Chinese riddle. That's the one everybody is trying to figure out.
Yeah. All right, let's do a little bit of rapid fire, real quick responses before we go. Your best Ron Artest story when you guys were with the Bulls?
The best Ron Artest story is when he got traded from the Bulls to Indiana. He was still coming back to Chicago to sleep in his bed at night at first because he couldn't sleep when he got traded down there. Yeah, I think he was driving back to Chicago to get a good night's rest and then go back to Indiana.
Wow. How long did he do that?
No, I don't think it lasted long, but he did it a couple of times for sure.
Wow. That's incredible. Because he couldn't sleep in Indianapolis.
Yeah, he couldn't sleep.
Wow, that is a great story. Best teammate you ever had? Like the best player,
Oh, that's it. Oh, best player?
Best player.
Oof. I'm not sure I can pick one, but just straight, like, oof, that's tough. That's tough. Because, I've played with Blake. I've played with CP. I played with, Stephon Marbury, who was just talented, crazy talented. I played with Marcus. I played with Joe Johnson, who's underrated to me. So, I mean, that's like the top shelf. So I can't just pick one, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what about the best teammate? Like, greatest teammate, you know what I mean? Locker room guy, all that.
Yeah, after this long, it'd be tough, but I've played with Ronnie Turioff. I played with Malik Rose, Grant Hill, Chauncey, Allen Houston. You know what I mean? Rick Brunson was great. Charles Oakley was great. Like, I had so many, I would do somebody a disservice. I try to name some of them right there. Willie Green was great. Like, I've had so many great teammates.
Best coach you ever played for?
I'm gonna go with Larry Brown.
Okay.
He's an unbelievable teacher.
Now, is it hard? Was it hard to play for Larry? Because I heard stories like, obviously, especially you, I think more than even a lot of players, you want to run, right? I mean, you want to play 5-on-5 in practice. You want to scrimmage. And I heard Larry would be stopping practice like all the time.
He's a teacher. At the core of who he is, he's a teacher. So for me, I didn't understand it at first, but I was willing to buy into it. You know what I mean? So it was like I didn't understand it. And now looking back at this point, I'm like, oh, he was unbelievable because he was such a teacher. I remember one time, man, he told us, we played Phoenix when they had Nash. You can go back and look, and we beat them in triple overtime. He was like, we're not going to run on them unless it's a steal or a block. Other than that, we're going to control pace and walk the ball court every single time. And we're like, what? And we did that and beat them. So he was unbelievable. He's the best coach, I would say.
How frustrating was it when you trying to go 5-on-5 and he stops it because you didn't show right on the pick and roll or something, You'll
go crazy. You'll go crazy. But if you can get through that, then it was all worth it in the end.
Yeah.
It's just all the teaching, all the stopping. You just want to get up and hoop and just play it. No, that ain't happening. We stopping every single possession. You never really running or anything because you stopping, you teaching. The teacher.
What was the biggest?
So I have a good one though.
Yeah, you have. Biggest what if of Jamal Crawford's career?
What if I had never, and I played as long, obviously, if I had never changed positions, just stayed at point guard? Because now the scoring point guard is like the end thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had never came off the bench and I had just stayed as a starting point/combo guard my whole career. That's probably one of the biggest what ifs.
Would you have rather been a point guard than the two?
I would have.
Okay.
I would have. But like I said, I prided myself on being able to adjust to anything. So I was the point guard until we brought in Kirk Heinrich. They're like, okay, you're going to play Jay Williams at first. And then they're like, okay, you're going to play two towards the end of the season. I'm like, all right. Then I started scoring a lot of points. And then they brought in Heinrich. They're like, okay, you're a full-time two. And I scored 50. And from there, that was it. I was a two-guard. Then I started playing with Stephon Marbury after that. So I was a two-guard.
But you would have preferred maybe to be, a high assist guy with maybe, 17, 18 to 20 points a game versus a guy that goes out and gets 50 sometimes. Okay.
Yeah. I would rather get 20 and 10 than 30 and 5, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
They're still the same. They accumulate the same amount of points, but I'd rather be 20 and 10 than 30 and 5.
That's interesting because I don't think people see you that way. They just think you as a scorer.
They don't. That's what's so interesting about it. Yeah, that's what's so interesting about it. Like, think about this. Like, when it's all said and done with my career, God willing, I'll be over 20,000 points, be top 5 in NBA's all-time three-point list. Like, you would have never expected that for a guy who was, like, a journeyman, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, who would have expected that?
Yeah.
So it's just been interesting. Right.
Last thing, man, when you retire, whenever that is, will you play in the Big Three?
I have to. I have to go play in the Big Three. I have to go play in that for at least one summer because no matter when I retire now, I'm going to be playing in some random gym somewhere across the country. So why not go play in the Big Three?
Man, I could see you having like a 10-year career in the Big Three. As much as you love the game?
1 year. Yeah, I'll do 1 year in the Big Three. Me and Cube, I told him, I said, man, when I retire, I'm coming. He's like, man, we'll be ready for you. So I'll play 1 year in the Big Three whenever I retire, and then I'll just be in local gyms all across the country.
Wow. Well, yo, man, I appreciate the time. Great stories. And good luck for the rest of the season, man. Have a great year.
I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you. Thanks for having me, man. Anytime.
All right, brother. Peace.